Awesome. Hey guys, you're listening to Alex Callan on The Faction. Today we've got Mel, also known as KILA, the new I got confused between Newcastle and New South Wales, then realized that they're both Newcastles in New South Wales. So I'm gonna do that again. Hey guys, you're listening to Alex Callan on The Faction. Today we have Mel, who plays under KILA, the Newcastle-based producer. How's it going, Mel?
Great, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So you just released Wishful Thinking a week ago, which is an absolutely massive track. How are you feeling since the release of that?
Thank you. I'm feeling good. It's my heaviest track so far, so I was really keen on getting it out there. It's one of my favorites.
It is like so heavy, to be honest. I mean, when I first kind of saw it get released and saw, I suppose, that it was kind of metalcore mixed with, like electronics and production. Firstly, I was kind of thinking of like a Chelsea Wolf style thing, like more kind of dark and ominous. And I wasn't expecting so like blistering and proper heavy. It's an absolutely belter of a track.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one.
And because I know that you have briefly said before that I suppose the writing of Wishful Thinking kind of came from a bit of a dark place for you.
Yeah, music for me is like a real big catharsis. I just put everything into it to release kind of like those dark days and kind of put into words, yeah, how I was feeling and how I feel sometimes. So yeah, it's pretty dark, but I think people out there would relate. Like some people definitely would relate to this one.
And was that, I suppose, more so born out of anything specific or kind of just, a reflection of a period of time?
Yeah, pretty much just like a period of time I was in. Like I not gonna lie, it's probably like feelings that kind of come back in waves, as most people that struggle with mental health would know the feeling of. But yeah, particularly at that time was obviously a low, but it did feel good to get those kind of words out and feelings out.
Absolutely. And, because it is kind of, as you said, Killer's heaviest track to date, is that, I suppose, an indication of the direction you're going in going forward?
There's definitely like a lot of heavy stuff that I'm working on and like have ready to release.
Mhm.
But I guess I've kind of got several different releases from different genres coming up. Like I'll sometimes make some real emo rap, chill, lo-fi stuff, and then other times it's like full on falls to the wall, and then everything in between. Basically, I also am still a DJ, so that's where like the electronic stuff kind of comes in. But I think my favorite and where everything kind of just smoothly comes out is like the trap metal kind of electronic heavy metal stuff, which I really enjoy doing. So yeah, lots more tracks like Wishful Thinking come out, which I'm stoked on.
Yeah, I was kind of really interested in that because, as you said, I mean, looking back through your music, like Don't Cry for Me kind of has that ambient, like down tempo kind of feeling to it. And then Anxiety, I don't know, kind of reminded me a little bit of like Alice Practice era Crystal Castles and some of like the mid 2000s stuff, which is really cool. So, I feel as if it's kind of eclectic across the board and kind of all just shaping up to this killer sound.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of like 2000s emo scene, kind of like Broken Side era stuff coming through.
Mhm.
The 303 era comes in strong, but yeah, I guess like I feel like it's, for me, I'd like to say it's trying to make emo modern. Is my kind of take on it. So that obviously comes in different forms. Like emo rap is huge at the moment, and that's like a lot of what I listen to, but then like on every end of the spectrum. So yeah, some tracks like Wishful Thinking is where it all just kind of comes into one. And then yeah, that's why there's a range of stuff like on my Spotify and to come. Like there's nothing I particularly sit down and make. It just kind of comes out in all these different forms.
And well, I did kind of notice that even, on your Triple J Unearthed profile under influences, I think it goes from Bring Me the Horizon to Lil Peep. And I mean, straight away, I kind of thought like, and I've referenced this in interviews before, but he is so good at that modern day emo sound, but combining it with, you know, contemporary genres and things like that. And had a chat with Under Oath for the faction earlier today where we were speaking about like Ghostmane doing the same thing. So, you know, there are kind of some really cool, I suppose, emo rappers kind of coming to the surface. So I feel as if kind of what you're doing with KILA and the combination of those genres is kind of the perfect timing in a sense.
Yeah, I hadn't really heard much about Ghostmane, and I had like my first live show pre-COVID, and someone came up after and was like, "Oh, like your stuff is like the female Ghostmane." And I kind of went home and listened, and I was like, "Yeah, I agree." Like I wasn't really into Lil Peep much, and I watched his documentary, and I was like, "Yeah, he gets it." And then I kind of listened to his stuff, and I noticed his producer like would sample and mash up like Linkin Park songs and like old school emo stuff for him to work on. And I was like, that's a vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like even though it was like kind of coincidence with the Ghostmane stuff, and people can kind of told me that that was my stuff. When I looked into it, I was like, yeah. So I guess influenced by, and I didn't even know it.
Well, it is, I suppose, you know, something so interesting how it is kind of happening parallel to each other in a sense, kind of like when hardcore first came up, that, you know, all these American rappers that are doing it, they're all kind of from different states, different cliques, like not necessarily doing it in the same scene. So I suppose it's really cool to have some kind of an Australian connection to that, because, you know, I saw in your press release that you've played Groove in the Mood 2019, and straight away I kind of thought like there's no other act on that lineup that sounds like KILA kind of thing. Like you're going into these shows and really doing something different, which is really cool. Is it at times daunting, or is it always exciting that, you know, you're kind of pushing the boundaries there?
Definitely daunting, because like I'm not oblivious to the fact that it's not everyone's cup of tea, and like if someone's not really into like the alternative kind of scene, and like especially if I get the crossover of people that have seen like my heavier DJ sets, and then they also hear like the heavy DJ sets, but then I start screaming, like there's obviously like it's very daunting for people to hear the darker, heavier stuff. But so far, like it's crazy the reception I get from it. Like it's really not expected. Like Groove in the Mood, the set started with like maybe 20 people and grew to like hundreds as far as I could see out the back of the tent, and people were vibing it. So I know that there's a market for it and there's people out there that like it. It's just, yeah, like you said, it definitely is daunting to you know, get ready to do that kind of stuff that's not common and that kind of thing. But it's awesome that people are starting to vibe with it.
And I suppose, especially from the background of a DJ, you know, like I've worked in a lot of clubs and stuff before, and the DJ's most important role is to read the room, ultimately, kind of thing. I mean, you can have as many good tracks as you like in your goodie bag, but if people aren't vibing it, they're not vibing it. So I suppose it'd be so weird kind of swapping out of that DJ mindset and being like, no, this is my original material. This is what I'm performing. Like if it's not for everyone, it's not for everyone kind of thing, as opposed to being a DJ where it's maybe I'll, you know, make it a bit more up tempo because people aren't dancing as much and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be an interesting contrast in that sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And in terms of the rest of the year, I suppose what does KILA have planned?
So at the moment I've got trying to smash out a single each month. So next month I've got another really heavy one coming that I'm keen to get out as well. And then I'm hoping, although it hasn't got a release date just yet, I want an EP by like, well, I've got all the songs, but the EP release in possibly April or May. But at the moment I'm sitting on like 40 unreleased tracks that are ready to go. So this year I'm just gonna start just pumping them out and just getting them out there and getting them heard. And yeah, I've been waiting to release some stuff, and I was just like, why not? Like, let's get it going. So yeah, keen to release a lot of stuff. Got like a couple of the, I guess like hybrid DJ sets coming up where I get to do a bit of both, which is fun. And providing COVID doesn't step in the way again, I can't say too much yet, but looking at another festival set coming up. So definitely a lot going on that I'm keen to get into.
It seems like you've got a really good year planned. So obviously listeners will have a lot to look forward to, which is really cool. And I'm sure we'll have a chat for probably each month by the sound of it for each one of those single releases. So that's really exciting. Well, thank you so much for having a chat today. If you've tuned in late, this is KILA, the Sydney-based. I don't even know how to define you, to be honest. Like you're so eclectic, but industrial metalcore singer, KILA. I'm sorry, you do your own thing, and I really like that. But thank you so much for having a chat. And yeah, I can't wait until you get down to Melbourne. I can come along and suss out a show.
Sounds good. Thanks heaps.